Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Hi, everybody. Joe Trippi here, Democratic strategist and host of That Trippi Show and my new show, On the Ground with Joe Trippi, which will be releasing and On the Ground in Iowa on Sunday afternoon. So check that one out. With me once again is the other Joe, celebrated journalist Joe Klein. He's been covering political campaigns a little bit longer than I've been working in them. And look, I think we've been, we obviously have our disagreements, but we love each other and agree a lot as well. So, Joe, thanks for being the other Joe, and I'll turn it over to you. Where do you want to get started, my friend?
Well, let's go back a little bit into the history of our disagreements. And I think they stem, as we've both agreed in the past, from the fact that your interests are predominantly political, and mine tend to be divided between politics and policy.
Yep.
And so, whereas you in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, believe that this election is all about Trump, I believe that it's very much about Trump, but it's going to be about other things as well. Which brings me to our quote of the week, which comes from Zoran Mamdani. A democratic socialist can get elected anywhere across this country for any position. I think we are seeing a hunger that is not just felt by New Yorkers, but frankly by Americans from coast to coast for a new kind of politics, one that puts working people at the heart of it. So let me start with a question for you, Joe. Do you think that's right?
I think he's right about people being frustrated about fighting for working people, and think that the Democratic Party, that writ large, isn't fighting Trump enough, or hasn't done them, or lost touch with them, whatever. I think that there's a lot of truth there. I think also, look, Congress is a big place, 435 seats, bunch of different flavors, 8 or 9, if it turns out, whatever the number of Democratic socialists that make it there. I think they'll find plenty of Democrats that will work to lower prices, to find ways to get people better health care, et cetera, but find it difficult to get any votes to defund the police or to abolish ICE or any of the other. I mean, they'll have to get, there may only be 8 votes in the entire Congress between Republicans and Democrats at that point that would vote for those things. So I think now what you point out, and it's correct, is that the Republicans will tie those policies to every single Democrat that's running, as will every Democrat will be tying Donald Trump, the tariffs, the war in Iran, the killings in Minneapolis around the necks of every Republican who winds up with him. And I just think there are a hell of a lot more Republicans, in fact, almost all of them, who line up with Trump on all those things and enabled it and empowered him to do it, and continue to do so. And I think, Democrats need to step up and say, no, I don't agree with them on this. But I think in the battleground districts of the 26 or so battleground House districts, though candidates that for the most part, I think almost all of them, if not all of them, reflect their district, reflect the people of Iowa, or in the 1st district of Iowa, or the 3rd district of Iowa, or the 27th district of Florida, or the 35th district of Texas. And I don't think any of them are going to have any trouble saying, no, I'm not for any of that stuff.
There's a bigger question at stake here, though. We have seen how a handful of right-wing MAGA folks can really gummy up the Republican Congress, Republican majority Congress. They have forced a lot of people in the Republican Party to move to the right or to the populist right. The question is whether these 8 or 9 Democratic socialists are going to have the same impact on the Democratic Party. And to me, the most important question there is whether they're going to overturn or make it impossible for Hakeem Jeffries to be the first Black Speaker of the House if the Democrats win the House. I think that that is the long-term, larger question at stake here.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a possibility that they'll try that they may not do that. We don't know. Part of it is, do they win? Look, it's one thing, and we know this. It's one thing to win a primary. It's another thing to actually, look at AOC. I think who was when she first got in there was a lot more abrasive towards whatever you want to call it, establishment Democrats, status quo Democrats, and learned over time, I think, to understand how government works, and has become, I think, much more pragmatic about how she votes and how she talks about any of this. I'm not saying that'll happen with all of them or any of them. I'm just saying that I'm
just saying that I'm worried about this.
Well, I'm not.
Okay. I mean, the other thing I'm worried about is
you and I both know that there's all kinds of, what office you get, all this crap that goes on in Washington. We'll see how it all plays out. I still will always believe this. These things happen in the Democratic Party actually more often than the Republican Party. The Republican Party, it just sort of keeps going. It becomes the Tea Party keeps going, and it becomes Trump becomes MAGA, and it keeps going off the edge. The Democratic Party has had multiple times where the progressives, sort of got more control, and I was part of that. I'm going back into the 80s, and tends to correct more to pragmatism and to the center. DLC, Bill Clinton, a good example of that. And that's where I think, in the end, this battle, and it is one. There's definitely a divide. There is.
But let me throw another.
Well, let me finish my point though, because I think this is that you can't. This party, the Democratic Party, is not correct in the middle of a midterm. It doesn't do that. It just doesn't. It's not going to happen. Forget about it. Worry all you want. Wring your hands and be concerned. I get that. That's where you want to be. But no, what you're worried about, and Democrats who are worried about these things should be worried about them in 2028. That is where, yes, there will be an AOC or someone, if it's not her. It may be Kamala now, who's evidently been reaching out to DSA. But there will be a candidate who tries to take the party in the national direction, that Mandami quote that you just talked about. And there will be plenty of other candidates saying, hell no, with totally different pathways to where they get to. That will be where, yes, you're correct, Joe. The party could spiral out of, off the range, or
I think it's more imminent than that for this reason. Let me give you Dan Goldman, who was defeated by a DSA candidate in New York last week. Mm-hmm. Can we run that quote?
American Jews are now being held responsible by too many people for what the Israeli government is doing. And that is anti-Semitism. And it's becoming normalized.
Yeah, I think, and you and I have disagreed about this in the past, but it's coming to the center along with the rise of DSA, that the Democratic position on Israel is going to be a major divide, perhaps the major divide within the party. Now, I, in the past, have been criticized by AIPAC and by the Anti-Defamation League and a lot of other people for my position, which is in favor of a two-state solution, and also my long-term position, which is to not give offensive weapons to Israel, to only give them defensive weapons. But what you're finding here is a bunch of people who don't even want the state of Israel to exist. And to me, them's fighting words. I'm in favor of two-state solution, as I said, and I think that if the Democrats get mixed up in this kind of an internecine battle, which it seems to me they're well embarked on, it's going to cost votes.
Well, look, I support the two-state solution. I always have. We don't disagree about that at all. I agree with Goldman, with him on that. Yeah, that there's a difference between supporting or opposing the policies of the Israeli government and tying that to every Jew on the planet is not, is anti-Semitic. And what I'm saying is that may fly in a district in New York City. We'll see if it flies anywhere else. We'll
How
see.
are the numbers looking nationally, Joe, about Israel? Israel is really in the dumpster.
No, are you kidding? I mean, it's not in the dumpster. I mean, I think it's favorable's rival Donald Trump's for how low they are.
Right, exactly. That's to me the dumpster.
Yeah, well, so I'm not sure that being opposed to that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure. Yeah, with Jewish voters, I think and with a lot of people like you, myself, there may be some there may be some ground that could erode enough votes in a close race that could be a difference. I don't think it will be in the end. I just do in any of the general election races. I believe that we're still going to pick up these House seats. Not necessarily who you would have wanted to be there, but we're going to pick them up. There's probably going to be bills to stop funding Israel or whatever, to fund nothing, and my guess is they're going to find a wall between most Democrats and Republicans saying, no, that's going too far. You're blaming everybody for policies that you don't agree, whatever. I don't think we're there yet. I think we may be. I understand where the direction that you're worried about. I don't disagree with that at all, but I just don't think it's going to impact 2026 at all. I think 2028 is where all the chickens, everything comes home to roost when you have, 18 people out there running, and one of them, maybe four of them, will adopt the Mondami, statements.
Well, I hope it's four because they'll split the vote then.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's my point.
Tell me someone rational.
You're right. That's tell me who the field is, which is way too early to tell either you or me. And we can both tell everybody who we think. Which we'll be doing this show at some point in 2027 when we finally look at. Oh, that's the field. Oh crap, Joe, you've been right. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not right. I just think it's really premature. I understand the concern. I'm not belittling it. I think it's right to be concerned. I just don't see it writ large having a real impact. Like on the Collins-Plattner race, I don't think this is going to have an impact in that race. We'll see. Maybe we'll see what she hits him with and back and forth. There'll be places, where I think it has impact. West side of Los Angeles, et cetera, will have a bigger impact, obviously, than in San Jose, California. But we'll see. You'll see how it plays out.
Let's switch topics a little bit and talk about the President of the United States, who it's kind of mystifying to me where he is right now because things keep on going wrong for him, and I'm puzzled by where people think he is right now, because it seems to me that over the last 3 or 4 months he's been utter failure, and there's been a complete collapse. There's no area where he's doing better than expected, is there?
No, but actually, this sort of gets to the point I'm making, Joe.
That's why I did it. You have a quote. You have a stat of the week, even.
So can we put the stat of the week up there then, please? Drum roll. More than 2 times, 2x. That's as many unaffiliated voters, independent voters, chose Democratic ballots over Republican ones in the Colorado primary. This is something we've been pointing out repeatedly, both of us, that it's more than 2 to 1 in most of the state, like the places where we've had elections, Virginia, New Jersey, other places, other specials, et cetera. They've been voting like 67% for, I think, Abigail Spanberger, 70% for Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, and that trend is, and the fact that that same number now is who requested ballots for which primary, same thing, 60-something%, right? So this gets to and Joe and I have seen all this before. It's called cross pressure. So let's take a Jewish voter who's strongly pro-Israel, who's appalled by what just the anti-Semitism that they see popping up out of comments from people in the DSA, whatever. Let's just see that. Okay, they're now sitting there wherever they are, and this is the thing: they saw 2 people in Minneapolis get shot by ICE. They see people being rounded up and mass deported to El Salvador. They saw the prices of tariffs, the war in Iran, which maybe they're for, maybe they're not, we'll see. And they see, my guess is they're seeing a lot more parallels with authoritarianism and Trump than most anybody else in the United States. Their memories of the Holocaust, whatever, they're there. They now have 2 problems. They can't countenance a Democratic Party that has this element within it, and they can't countenance an entire party that is following this guy lockstep into every day more and more attack on democratic, and I mean small d democratic institutions, et cetera, and is a threat to them, in my view. We'll see where they vote. I'm not. I get the problem over with DSA. I don't think they're going to go, oh no, there's some DSA members in Colorado or New York, but so here in Iowa, I'm going to vote for Trump and whoever, the governor and the senator and the House members, because, they'll stop that. No, I don't think that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to vote for the Democrat who doesn't agree with those. And by the way, there's nothing stopping the person running in the district over from Colorado saying, not me, I'm not one of them.
Can I ask you another question? Just read that the Republican Party is going to have a midterm convention. They're going to have a show in September trying to nationalize these issues. I remember when Democrats tried to have those midterm conventions, and they never worked all that well. Yeah. But do you think, 2 questions. Do you think that this is going to have an impact on the campaign? And secondly, should the Democrats have a midterm convention?
Holding a nominating convention when Joe Biden got out of the race.
Me too.
Do it then. I was actually for it right after Joe Biden won. Let's have a convention, and after Trump won in 2024. Excuse me. I wanted after that to have a convention that November and nominate our candidate for president then in 2025 and let them be the opposition leader through all this. Good friends of ours, Elaine Kmark and others, thought that was like, no, it can't do, this is the Democratic Party. Joe, this is the Democratic Party. May have told you the same thing. Not going to happen. So
Well,
yeah,
you and I were disagreeing about that because I think you need to have the convention because things change so rapidly in
well,
American politics that you need to have that what's going to
yeah,
happen between 25 and 28, as Mario Cuomo used to say, a pope will be born. I think that you can't
well,
use a
so
candidate until you get closer to the election.
well, I'm more answering your question about do I think we should have a mid. I'm for having more of them, not fewer of them. Okay, I mean
Yeah,
more.
okay, I think we agree on this. I
Yeah, yeah.
think the
So
Democrats could,
on the other
although
hand, like whether the Republican one will work or not is also a different question because I don't think they can help themselves. They're all going to have to get up there and tell sweet Jesus how sweet he is and
Mm.
how brilliant it was to paint the reflection pool blue, flag blue. I just, it'll be, okay.
if the gods have a vote, they're not voting for Donald Trump. The gods put the algae in.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, I don't, more power to them. I'm sure they'll be up there talking about how the economy is amazing, how they've taken all of Iran's uh, uh, missiles and everything out, and won the war, even if it's still, even if the Gulf is still closed. I mean, Strait of Hormuz is still closed. It's no. I mean, I'm sure they'll put on a great show. I mean, look at the state fair, the American State Fair. There's a show, man. That is amazing.
Can you explain that? Well, I can explain that disaster. This is a week when people don't want to go to Washington for this or that. They want to be with their families. They want to have backyard barbecues. That was a really stupid idea.
Well, it's become worse. They can't even get any celebrity to show up and sing a song. I mean, so I'm sure, let's see who shows up. I mean, Dana White will be there. I'm sure there'll be some UFC. Maybe they'll have a big cage match right there on the convention stage where everybody can celebrate the newest UFC heavyweight champion of the world. I mean, this is the kind of show that they've been putting on. And guess what? It's not working. And I don't know who else they'll get. No one is, this is what's happening clearly. I mean, what's going to be really interesting about that convention is what Republican senators and members of Congress show up to it. Because they will be,
That's a great question, Joe.
Yeah. This is a point where I just think, look, he has become a lame duck. I mean, his power, even within his own party, is starting to really dissipate. And I think a convention will just show that. I mean, just sort of demonstrate that that people are not. I mean, yeah, maybe they'll all stand up and cheer like crazy. Those members of Congress and the senators that show up there every time he says, Stephen Miller talking about how many people they've deported and how well it's been. I mean, okay, it'll be good. I'm rooting for them, but I'm with you. Yeah, I think it would be good for Democrats to.
Well, I think that, in the great tradition of the Democratic Party, a Democratic midterm convention in September wouldn't be nearly as neat as the Republican one. I think there would be a brawl over Israel and a couple of other issues, possibly too, maybe trans rights. And the thing is that that's been the Democratic Party's calling card for my entire lifetime. Those kind of the battles that Americans are thinking about are taking place within the Democratic Party. And can Democrats make that work to their advantage?
I think that's exactly what's going on. I think Democrats are really, whether you're DSA or Democrat, wherever, you're really focused on one, stopping Trump, two, everybody. I don't care where you're at. If you're an elected official, you're hearing about nothing's affordable. People can't buy homes. A bunch of And I think what you're seeing is people are so frustrated with the establishment of both parties, which actually is what started Trump coming down the escalator in the first place. It's the whole reason he probably won that 2016 election in the first place. It's now coming back to eat Trump and MAGA. And they're so disappointed, so frustrated with he promised lower price, he promised not to get any more forever wars, all that stuff. And it's all turned out to be bullshit. Yet they still have to deal with whether the Democratic Party hears them or not. And so when a Plattner comes along and they go, this guy hears me, this guy is going to take it to Mills and to Collins. It's what happened with Cornyn and Paxson. Cornyn is the same, Paxson's changed, even though he'd been around forever. Now it's Tellerico that's changed. I think this is what everybody's missing is I understand you can tie it to Gaza, you can tie it to Israel, you can tie it to old versus new, to age, generational. But the thing that's at the bottom of all of it, that's driving every single change, every single election that we've seen so far, has been change. They just want to turn the page. And so, are the Democratic incumbents going to get caught in that too? Hell yeah. You saw it with Bennett in Colorado.
Who is an excellent guy. Michael Bennett has been a wonderful senator. Dan Goldman has been a wonderful congressman.
Right. But the reason they're going out is because they've been there too long in the eyes of the people who want change. And so the AG, who's just, been AG, becomes the change vehicle. The DSA is the change vehicle in a district where Goldman, he's been there. This is my point. Now, it's too early to know, other than I think this is going to be the biggest change. Forget about blue wave. That's what I'm saying. It's not, the DSA thing wasn't blue. It was the independents voting 70. No, but the independents voting 70%, and for Democrats, and pulling down 69 whatever percent of the of ballots, more Democratic than Republican, it's independents. It's everybody who just wants massive change from, and basically we can fight over what we're going to do in a democracy. Like literally, my guess is that Democrats and DSA people, the 8 that make it, the 5 that make whatever make it, are going to find all kinds of places of agreement when it comes to taking on the pharmaceutical companies or the oil industry or the AI guys, right? The billionaires and all that stuff. They're going to be, and they may even be, if enough Republicans get wiped out, they may even start pulling some Republicans against all that stuff. There's no that's what I'm saying. Tell me where the defund the police bill goes in the House.
Could I mention where, we're getting down toward the end. I want to mention something that isn't political, but maybe working against Donald Trump. And that is the World Cup. For the last decade, Donald Trump has been trying to sell the notion that the world is our enemy. Our allies aren't friends. Our enemies are enemies. There's this, there's that. And yet, the whole world has come to America and Canada and Mexico, and they're having a blast. They're having a wonderful time. And there are all these stories about how they're liking what they're seeing about this country. And it might be a good thing for Americans to remember that the great American suburb, it seems like paradise to people from Europe and other countries. And I'll tell you what, I am certainly going to be watching the U.S. team take on Bosnia tonight. Have you been following this closely?
Yeah. No, the other thing is, though, that Americans have enjoyed watching these guys. I mean, whatever the characters that are coming over from these other countries. I mean, whether it's at the Travelers golf championship, Scheffler and Hovland going at it with all kinds of Norwegian fans because they happen to be in town for the World Cup.
Did you see them doing the the rowing thing in Times Square?
Yeah,
there were
but they're doing like Victor, and you're watching them in a golf championship. You know, these World Cup fans from Norway cheering on their favorite golfer who did end up winning the championship. I was rooting for Scheffler, not out of U.S. patriotism. Just one of my favorite guys. But my point is that the Scottish. I mean, some of the team. I mean, some of the fan base of the teams has just been fun to watch their reactions. So no, I get that, and I think that's not. First of all, he probably thinks it's a loser sport or something. Who knows? He's
going to be there at the championship on July 19th. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, he won't have a clue what's going on.
The question in my mind is whether the World Cup has now become the most important international institution, more important than the UN.
It'll be interesting to see him show up in public.
That really is bringing us all together.
Because I've always thought the reason he didn't show up he stopped showing up at sporting events is because he's starting to get booed whenever he shows up. And so, no, I'm just saying this is part of the deterioration. I mean, this is part of him slowly losing the juice that he had, on day one. And it hasn't even gotten through halfway through his term. And I think it's evaporating on him. It will be interesting to see what kind of reaction he does get at the World Cup championship. I'm not sure, even if the U.S. somehow is in it, I'm not sure that's a place where he's going to get the godlike worship applause that he so desperately wants.
Yeah. Well, in any case, Joe, I guess that for this week we're coming to a close. But this is an important week. Our 250th birthday.
Yep.
And, we should remember the Declaration of Independence, the most important sentence ever written, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yep. And what's amazing is the number of Americans who I think are having a hard time, stating that pride in their country right now. The latest polling shows even 50. I think Republicans are only 57% extremely, proud of America. But we're
flying the flag right now, just outside here.
No, we have to claim the flag
because we're patriotic, and the other reason is because I don't want those right-wing populist numbskulls to appropriate my flag.
The flag. That's exactly right. And so you look at but what's fascinating is only 27% of independents are extremely proud of America right now. I mean, this goes to Trump's favor. His approval rating with independents is only slightly lower than that. That's what I'm saying is he's affected everything. He's impacted everything, even how the pride that people feel in our country. And I'm saying when you see that number like exactly the same as his approval, your pride in your country, that tells you what he's the driver here. And I think that is why, Joe, that will be the driver in this election, in my view. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, and one of the Joes, you can tell me if I'm wrong about what's going to happen.
You can tell me if I'm wrong too, and I've been wrong a whole lot, but I think there is a massive superhighway leading from here to 2028.
Yep,
that the Democrats could take advantage of if they would only be optimistic and patriotic about our country. You can't lose a bet on that.
You're not going to get an argument out of me. I think you're right. We can't continue to allow them to appropriate the flag.
But also optimism.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I
this
agree.
country is not falling apart.
Well, I think there's a lot of people who think feel like it is falling apart.
Well,
That,
they are, they are historically out to lunch, totally wrong. And,
well, if you're,
there are things that
you're
need
one
to
of
be fixed. Obviously, there are things that need to be fixed.
I think if you're not one of the people out there who can't figure out how you're going to pay for groceries this week, you might feel that way. But there's a lot of people who are in that predicament who don't feel that way. And I think they're actually going to be the people who decide this election, because I think they're going to vote, and I think they're going to vote for change. That's all. We don't have to keep.
This may be an argument for another time, but it seems to me that the number of people like that are diminishing in this country, that the middle class is growing smaller because the upper middle class is growing larger. The working class and the poor have remained at about the same rate, and we certainly should be concerned about them, and we should be concerned about the people who can't afford groceries. But I think that the emphasis on that, rather on the reality that the upper middle class is growing at the expense of the middle class, and the lower middle class is not growing.
I think that's exactly right, and that's why I think those people are going to vote for change, and they outnumber the top 10%, 1%, et cetera. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, we have to go. Joe, where can people find out more from you?
On Sanity Clause, which is a Substack, just look for Joseph Klein's Sanity Clause. I don't know why they call me Joseph Klein. My mother was the only one who called me Joseph. But in any case, have a hamburger and a hot dog for me, Joe, and I'll have one for you. Okay. And we'll talk next week.
We'll see you all next week, folks. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us. Tell your friends and spread the word if you thought this was interesting. We'll argue a little bit more over several more weeks, I'm sure. Thanks, Joe. Have a good 4th of July, everybody. Take care.
Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.